The film begins in a small southern church, its wooden frame groaning beneath the weight of a devout congregation. From the rear doors, a figure stumbles in, Sammy, battered and bloodied, his shirt torn and his hands trembling. His face is swollen, bruises painted like war marks across his cheekbones. The room stills. All eyes turn to Sammy, who stands under the flickering cross at the altar like a ghost returned to life. From the front pew, Yedidia, Sammy's father and the community's fire and brimstone preacher, rises slowly. He rushes to his son, catching him as he collapses forward. The embrace is rough, but it's love. A week earlier, beneath the blistering southern sun, Sammy is back where he belongs, or so it seems, picking cotton in the fields, sweat glistening across his back, dirt between his fingernails. He then walks home as if he's expecting someone. Elsewhere, in the shadows of an abandoned plot, two men stand silently. Smoke and Stack, brothers cut from defiance and desperation, wait beside a derelict barn that once held music and moonshine. Their silence is broken when a car rumbles up the dirt path. Hogwood steps out, swaggering, southern, and snake-skinned in his demeanor. He's there to sell them the old juke joint. Smoke notices blood smeared along the warped floorboards. They ask what's going on, but Hogwood doesn't answer. His eyes give nothing. The brothers look at each other, suspicion lingers, but they nod. The deal is made. Unbeknownst to them, Hogwood is a member of the notorious KKK clan. Later, Smoke and Stack fetch their cousin, Sammy. They need music, and Sammy is the best they know. They find him, convincing him to come along and play at the juke joint when it opens. He immediately agrees and they drive away. Together, they make their way to a secret spot in the woods. The trees part to reveal an old van, hidden and covered in leaves. They brush it off, revealing wheels carrying cases of untouched alcohol. Smoke decides to go to town, aiming to recruit more hands for the night ahead. When he gets there, Smoke parks the van and spots a little girl sitting nearby. He asks her to watch over it for a while and promises to pay her for the favor. Then he walks into a small store where his old friend Bo works. Bo, a streetwise businessman, listens as Smoke pitches the party: big night, big crowd, big money. He wants Bo to run liquor at the joint. Bo's wife, Grace, overhears and steps in. She offers to help, intrigued by the ambition and reward of it all. Meanwhile, Stack heads off on his own mission. He tracks down Delta, a talented performer with a mean streak and a sharp memory. Delta wants no part of their plan. He knows Smoke and Stack bring heat wherever they go, but Stack pulls out a bottle, the finest beer he could find, and bribes him. Delta grins and gives a nod, he's in. As they're about to leave, he's stopped by a voice behind him. Mary. She confronts him, heart still raw. They shared a night together, one she thought meant something. Stack's jaw clenches. He tries to explain, he can't be with her, not because he doesn't want to, but because of what the law will do to them if they're found out. Mary doesn't care, she just wants love, but Stack refuses and Mary walks away. Later, the trio visit a man named Cornbread. Built like a wall, Cornbread is the kind of man you hire when you want order in chaos. They offer him the job of bouncer for the night. Cornbread grins at the pay and nods. Elsewhere, Smoke takes a detour. Down a dirt road, through the trees, to a quiet house humming with wind chimes. Annie walks out, her eyes widen as she hasn't seen him in years. Annie is a spiritual healer, someone who sees more than the surface. Smoke tells her the truth, they bought a juke joint from a man tied to the clan. Annie's eyes narrow, she walks to her table and begins mixing herbs and oils. She tells Smoke he will need protection, not just from bullets, but from the evil that seeps through walls. She offers to help. Not just with potions, but with presence. Smoke nods. The night is coming fast, and the past is catching up. Elsewhere, a man stumbles across a stretch of rural land. His clothes are torn, skin blistered from burns, and his breath rattles like gravel in his throat. The homeowners peer out cautiously. The man pleads with them, telling them that there's people after him. He then offers to pay them in gold if they give him shelter. The glint of coins eases their fear. Later, bounty hunters arrive, and ask the woman if she's seen a man matching the stranger's description. She lies, says no one's come through. The men leave, boots crunching on dry earth. Relief settles for a moment, until the woman calls out to her husband and finds him slumped over, eyes wide and lifeless. The man they took in is no victim, he's a vampire. That evening, the juke joint comes alive, music spills from every crack in the walls. The air is thick with sweat, smoke, and laughter. Mary walks up to the door and Cornbread lets her in without hesitation, as they grew up together. Inside, Sammy takes center stage. The crowd presses in around him, caught in the spell of his voice. He sings like he's pulling notes from the bones of the earth, calling on every spirit that's ever wept or danced through sound. Unbeknownst to Sammy, his music stirs something beyond the walls. Outside, drawn by the pull of soul and rhythm, the 3 vampires from earlier arrive. Pale eyes glowing faintly under the moon. They walk to the door and ask to be let in. Cornbread and the brothers refuse, not because they see monsters, but because they see white men. They ask about Mary, and they defend her by telling them that she's more like family. The trio doesn't argue. They step back into the dark, but not before one of them, Remick, promises they'll stay close, just in case the brothers change their minds. Later, Mary approaches Smoke. She urges that they should at least hear them out. They might have money, and might make it worth their while. Smoke sighs, hands her his gun and tells her to go. Outside, Mary steps into the yard where the trio waits. She asks their names. The one in the middle tells her that he's Remick. But then, Remick reaches deeper. He reads her pain, tells her heart is broken. That her mother is dead. Mary stiffens, she didn't tell him that. She tries to leave, but Remick grabs her. Later, Mary returns to the juke joint, and asks Cornbread to let her in. He hesitates, something's off, but he steps aside and she enters. Cornbread pulls Delta aside and asks him to watch the door while he steps away to take a leak. Mary finds Smoke and leads him to a back room. They kiss, it's tender and hungry. But behind her lips is something hollow. Elsewhere, Stack searches for his brother. He opens the door to that room and freezes. Mary is bent over Smoke, her mouth at his neck, his body limp. Stack draws his gun and fires. Mary's body collapses, but only for a moment, then she rises, eyes glowing, and bolts out into the night. Chaos erupts. The music dies, people scatter, Smoke is dead. They gather around his body. Annie, calm but urgent, says the words out loud, vampires. That's what they are. And they turned Mary. She begs Stack to let her take Smoke's body outside, just in case. Stack refuses, so they lock Smoke's body in the room. Suddenly, Smoke's voice calls out from behind the door, weak and pleading. He begs to be let out. They freeze. Annie was right. The dead don't knock unless they're not truly dead. The door buckles under Smoke's strength. He bursts through, Annie throws garlic water at him. It hits his flesh like fire. Smoke screams, stumbles back and flees into the dark, howling in pain. Later, Annie begins preparing everyone for what's to come. She tells them that they'll need wood and garlic water to conjure the monsters down. She pulls Stack aside. Her eyes don't tremble, but her voice wavers just slightly. She makes him promise that if she ever gets bit, he must be the one to end her. Stack reluctantly nods. Later, Bo walks in through the back entrance and tells Grace that they need to leave, but everyone realizes that he's also a vampire. Before anyone can react, Remick steps in behind him. He speaks calmly, almost sweetly. Tells Grace that unless she lets them in, they'll go and find her daughter and kill her. Grace freezes. Remick turns to Sammy next. Tells him that his voice is what brought them here. That Sammy is the one Remick came for. The group slams the door shut. They yell at Grace not to do anything stupid, but she's not thinking clearly, her baby is out there. She screams at the vampires to come in. Now that the vampires are given the invitation, they rush through, and chaos erupts. The group fights back with everything Annie prepared, but in the chaos, Smoke finds Annie and bites on her neck. Stack rushes to her side and Annie reminds him of the promise. Tearfully, he does what he must and Annie dies. Delta then sacrifices himself to buy some time for his friends to run away. Outside, Sammy runs, tears hot on his face. But Remick is faster. He grabs him and, as he leans in to take what he came for, a blade bursts through his chest from behind. It's Stack. The sky begins to change, the first sliver of sun peeks over the trees. The vampires scream. They twist and claw and try to run, but light sears them. Remick burns from the inside out, his body turning to ash mid-scream. Later, Stack places money in Sammy's hand, telling him to go home and that he must bury that guitar. With the crowd gone, everyone Stack has ever lived for is now gone. But there is still one final chapter. As the sun rises higher, trucks approach. Hogwood and his KKK brothers, armed and grinning, believing they've come to slaughter what remains of a black dream. Suddenly, Stack opens fire, his rage is thunder, bullets rip through the white sheets and hate, one by one, they fall. Unfortunately, he also gets shot and falls down. Suddenly, he sees Annie and their daughter, the one they lost before she could walk. Stack has crossed over from the broken world of men to the spirit beyond, where love waits. Decades later, Sammy, now an old man, stands on a small stage. His fingers, gnarled but steady, coax mournful notes from a battered dobro guitar, its metal body glinting under the bar's amber lights. Sammy's voice, gravelly yet soulful, carries the pain of a life long lived, his performance a ritual of memory and survival. After his performance at a fancy bar, his bodyguard tells him that there's someone there to see him. His bodyguard lets the guests in. The door creaks open, and two figures step into the light. Smoke and Mary walk in. Chills race up Sammy's spine, as he thought they were killed all those years ago. Smoke's gaze locks onto Sammy, and he tells him that Stack had spared him, extracting a vow. Smoke would never pursue Sammy, leaving Sammy to live in peace. Smoke leans closer and smells sickness in Sammy, the bitter tang of cancer eating away at his lungs, his time slipping like sand. Smoke's offer slithers out. He can take the disease away, grant Sammy more years, but it comes at a price. But Sammy refuses, as he's seen too much of the cost of deals with the devil. Smoke then asks for one favor: play him the blues, the kind that poured from Clarksdale's heart before the world lost its spirit. Sammy then performs a song that brings nostalgia, transporting them to 1932. Smoke claps slowly and pulls out two crisp $100 bills, and places them on the bar, a gesture both payment and farewell. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.